Alrighty. So on page 19, we have graphed in this unit already where you had to do a dash line or a solid line. You guys remember doing that? So dash or solid, and then you shade above or below based on if it's greater than or less than. So you're doing the same thing except for you have two problems on the same coordinate plane versus one. That's the only difference. So this time when you're doing that, you have to pay attention to the shading. So what, as far as the solution is concerned, the solution will be where the two shadings overlap one another. So sometimes students think it's easier to use like color pencils in two different colors because then you can actually see where the two colors overlap. You don't have to, because you can definitely use a pencil, but you just want to make sure where they overlap that you make that a lot darker than the other part, because that's called the solution. Okay, so if you have a pen or a pencil, that might be good to use, but again, if you just use a pencil, just make sure that you can definitely tell where the solution is. All right, so let's start graphing. Okay. All right, so we're going to start at -3, and then we're going to do our slope. So we're going to go up 1 to the left 1, up 1 to the left 1, up 1 to the left 1. You might want to make more than just 2 points this time because you want it to be a little bit more accurate. Okay, now I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to look to see if I need to make a dash line or solid line. In this case, I need to make a solid line because there's an equal sign. And then since it's greater than, do I shade above or below? Above. Very good. All right, so that's the first line. So now I'm going to graph the second line on the same coordinate plane. So who remembers when you only have X in your problem and there's no Y, what type of line is that? Everybody. Vertical line. Very good. So I'm going to go on the X-axis to 1. And I look at my problem again, and I see there's an equal sign. So I'm going to make a solid line. And since this is greater than, we are going to shade to the right of the line. And can't you see where the two colors overlap? That's the solution. Now, there's no sense in me putting the lines back here because there's not two colors here. So I'm just going to leave that blank. And a lot of times on your SOL test, they will just have like the solution looking like this. You don't even see the extra lines that are not overlapping. I'm not going to ask you to erase it, but if you are using a pencil, you will just want to make sure that that area and this area right here is darker than the rest of it, okay, to indicate that that is the actual solution. Now, what does that mean when I say solution? Okay, because that's where both lines are overlapping. Okay, that's where both lines are overlapping. So when you guys do your homework, because you have homework from the textbook, when you do your homework, they're going to give you two problems like this, and then they might put the point, let's say -4, 2, and they might say, is that a solution? Well, if you have the graph, you can tell it's not, because -4, 2 is right here, and you would say no because it's not in that double shaded region. But let's say you don't have a graph you're looking at and this is all you have. How would you do it without graphing it? Any guesses? So say I didn't have this graph and I gave you these two problems and I said, is this a solution? Okay, how would you do it algebraically, you think? Well, I have an X and a Y, so where do you think I would place them? I would place them right in here. Okay, and they have to, of course, it would have to say yes into both. Like, you got to have a true statement. So follow this because this is like one of your first homework questions. So let's say Y is 2. So I'm going to test it into this one right here. So Y is 2. X is -4. Okay, So I'm going to have a positive 4 minus 3. So that gives me what, 1? So that one is okay. That says a yes. So then I got to test it into the second one. Okay, x is 2. X is, sorry, negative 4. And is negative 4 greater than or equal to negative 1? That's a no. So that means, again, because if it doesn't say yes into both, then it's not a solution. So that's how you would test it algebraically, is by substituting the numbers into the problem. Are we okay with that? Alrighty. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to have you guys do is to go ahead and graph these two. I'm going to graph them after you have had a chance. So go ahead and graph those two for me. Now, guys, when you go up 4 over 1, I would also do down 4 and then to the left 1, so you can at least have 3 points. Okay? So when you graph this first line, can someone tell me if I should do a dashed line or a solid line? Dash. Very good. Okay? So this is a dashed line. And then it says greater than, so I'm going to shade above. Right? Okay. And then for the second one, I'm going to start at negative 2, which is here. And then I'm going to do the slope. The slope is a positive 1. Up 1 over 1. Up 1 over. I'm going to also go down and see how that goes right on top of that one. So that's why I say you see, and see where that little piece is going to be. So there's the other one, and this is shaded below. So look, it's really only right here. This little piece right in here. That's it. That's where they overlap. So that's why I said, you know, nothing else. I mean, you can make the other lines below here, but they're not double colors, so it's not going to be part of the solution. Okay. So a lot of times on your SOL, what they will do is they will, put letters where the solution is, and then you have to say, they might say region A, region B, region C, or region D, and you have to say what region the shaded part is in. Okay, so that's how they typically do it, because they can't have you shade on the test. So what they'll do is they'll make up the graph and say, where does the solution lie? And you have to say, is it quadrant A, B, C, or D? Like that. They'll put letters. All right, let's move on to number 3. Now, in number 3, this is a horizontal line because it only has a Y value, Y letter, that is. So I'm going to go down here to negative 3, and let's make a horizontal line. Okay, now since it's less than, I shade below the line. Okay, and then for the other line, I am going to start at positive 2. And then I'm going to go down 5. And to the right 1. And I really can't do that again because I'm out of space. So that's it. So we'll make a, what type of line this time? Dash. Okay. And this one is shaded less than. So look, just down here, guys. So that's the solution down there. So I don't even need to shade, above it, because that's really, yes. No, this is negative 5 over 1. Okay. When there's not a bottom number, it's always 1. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do one more, and then you'll finish the 5 and 6. Okay. And then, like I said, your other part will be to do the test review, 20 and 21. All right. So now notice that in number 4, 5, and 6, they are not in what form? Slope-intercept form. So the very first thing we have to do is solve for y. So let's take this first one and solve for y. So to solve for y, we subtract the 3x to the other side. So I'm going to say negative 3x minus 2. Okay, how do I isolate y from there? Who can tell me? Divide by 2. Very good. Everybody should know how to isolate this variable by now. So y is less than negative 3 halves x minus 1. All right, so that's going to be one of our problems. So let's go ahead and graph that one. We'll start at negative 1. We can go down 3 and then to the right 2. We can also go up 3 and then to the left 2. All right, do we do solid or dashed this time, guys? Dashed, okay. There's no solid line under it. And since it's less than, we're going to shade which way? Below. Very good. All right, so there's my first line. So let's do the second one. So I'm going to move the x to the other side. So I'm going to end up with negative 2y is less than or equal to negative x minus 6. Now I have to divide by negative 2. Okay, does anybody remember what we have to do when we divide by negative when we have inequalities? Switch the sign. Very good. So I'm going to switch this to greater than or equal to. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I'm going to make this a positive 1/2 x because really there's like an invisible 1 here. And what is negative 6 divided by negative 2? Positive 3. Okay. Graphing with what number? 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, my slope is 1/2. I can go up 1 over 2. I can also do a double negative, go down 1 over 2. And this is also going to be a solid line. All right, well, the other one was dashed. Okay, and then which way do we shade? This is greater. Above. So see where the two colors are? That's really the solution. You don't have to shade above on the other part where you don't see the green. Okay, just make sure your graph or your solution look a lot cleaner. Okay. All right, so what you're going to do is finish up page 19. I will check 5 and 6 before you go